Very busy, signing 21 bills into law. We're going to talk about just a few of those. Don't worry, the entire show is not going to be listing those off. But some of them, some pretty big bills that'll change a lot of folks' lives, like teacher discipline, as far as using performance for disciplining, not just, molding how they go forward in their careers. That's one of them. And the castle doctrine with shooting someone in your house.
I'm down with that one.
I'm surprised at the drinking one.
Yeah?
Yes, surprised, disappointed, and just, boozing earlier.
Well, let's let Mike kind of break these down. You're the political reporter around here, so let's kind of go through them and get them more in depth here.
Yeah. Well, if you want to start with the drinking one, that was the so-called tailgate law, which allows liquor stores and places that you can buy liquor, grocery stores, to open up and sell those products a couple hours earlier. The thought being that anybody on their way to Lambeau Field from Milwaukee that wants to pick up some beer now has that option. A lot of people felt like, well, is this really a problem? Most people who go tailgate get that stuff the night before or plan ahead.
Yes.
But it's there for the idea that if you forgot to get something, you could now have the option to go pick it up. Now, some Democrats we talked to about this say that this should have been tied to legislation tightening the drunk driving laws,
right?
Because that's obviously a serious problem.
That's what I thought.
That's what Chris Larson, senator from Milwaukee, wanted to do if this were going to pass. But obviously, it's been signed into law now. I talked to a couple liquor store owners about this when we were first reporting the story, and they say, I'm not going to open. And now that we have the option, I'm not getting up 2 hours earlier to make one sale of a six-pack.
Well, they say that until their competitor opens, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. I just don't know how that's important in the scheme of things, really. I mean, with all that we have got to deal with.
It seems like a relatively minor issue.
Get your drink on, what, 2 hours later? Really? I don't get it.
Let's go back to the top of the list that we had there, which is the teacher issue. And, of course, that's kind of the top of the list because of everything with the recall, anything related to that and the whole collective bargaining and how we change the way we're working with our teachers is a big, big discussion point right now.
And this is a law that has now been signed that allows standardized test scores to be one of the factors that could help or that could be used in disciplining a teacher. So poor
performance. Discipline, we mean they could be fired,
right? They could be fired.
Yes.
Okay. But not simply because of low test scores, but now it's allowed to be a factor. Previously, you couldn't take standardized test scores as the lone factor or one of the factors. So now that's part of it.
I picture myself in the classroom as a teacher, which of course I'm not, with a bunch of children that weren't raised at home, coming into a classroom, and I have a fraction of time, a millisecond in their life to try to bring order and get a point across. And the challenge, if not impossibility, of that in many situations, and now I'm going to be judged because they don't. That doesn't feel fair.
And when you talk to the teachers and to the teachers union that represents them, that's what they say, that there are a lot of other factors that go into how well students will do on a test, rather than just that 45 minutes you have with them in the classroom. Whether or not they're doing their homework, whether or not they're getting good nutrition at home. So there's all kinds of things that factor into how performance. And so to judge teachers just on test scores, but again, this only now allows that to be a factor, one of multiple factors.
Which is important because I think the other argument is that I think while you look at that and say, test scores should be used to judge how well you're teaching, I think you can agree to that to a certain extent. I think teachers are like, yeah, but you're making it harder for me to do my job as it is. So now you're gonna, it makes it kind of like a double whammy. And then of course we come down to what's been called the castle doctrine, which is such a cute way to say you can shoot somebody in your home.
Right, cross that threshold, it's on.
What this does is, this was always something you were allowed to do. If you talk to prosecutors beforehand, if somebody had invaded your home, this just gives you new legal protections if the intruder is not armed. So this gives more protections to people who then would take that action, but there are still some stipulations. For example, if it's a law enforcement officer and you had reasonable ability to know that person was a law enforcement officer.
Like if they bang on the door and say MPD.
Right.
You can't shoot anymore.
And the people who are against this say this is just going to give people more cover, legal cover. Somebody who's paranoid about somebody knocking on their door, or a trick-or-treater was one of the examples that they used. Somebody who just doesn't want people on their door now has some more legal cover. So that's what the critics say.
So you can buy alcohol at 8, you can carry a concealed weapon, and now you can shoot on your own property.
That's right.
And it does have to be in the home, though, correct? Yeah. Someone breaking into your car in your driveway would not qualify.
It's within. I believe it's within your
property.
It is within your property.
Car. Yes.
So as soon as they step off the sidewalk, They're coming to get the doggy's doo-doo from the front yard, and you can...
Oh.
All right, well, there you go.
right.
And last but not least, a happy note.
Yes, Dakota, the owl has been found. This owl was missing. It was stolen, actually, a couple of weeks ago, and it has been found. A homeowner called and said that the owl was on its porch. Dakota is now safe back in captivity. He was born in captivity and will survive. This was a
That's good
wonderful
news.
story. Great,
A good
it was
story.
Great
Happy
story to
story.
follow. Happy ending. I like those.
He's home.
All right, stay tuned because this is a movie that's getting great reviews, but do the Muppets, yes, the Muppets, have a hidden agenda? Some say yes, and we're talking about that. Okay.
Plus, just how tough is a master lock?